Hi Sweetie here. I'm making many takes on this video, so forgive me if my voice is not completely clear. I'm going a little nuts. Basically, my original video, Cardboard Inspiration, was taken down due to licensing music. So tip, just don't do it. Just don't put any music, unless you know for sure it's not licensed. So basically, I'm going to explain to the people who didn't get to watch my original video of Cardboard Inspiration. And anyone who has watched that, I will let you know down below where to start watching it for updates. So basically guys, I'm looking for a minifee A-line muscular type boy body. And the reason why is because I have this crazy idea for this character that I'm creating. And this character comes from watching Fawn Prince's video response to Sorry Octopus. And she had a cardboard head for her doll. And at the time it was for expression. And I saw it and I thought, I have to do that. And not only did I say I have to do that, I even developed a whole character and even a backstory for him. Now I know what most of you guys are thinking. You're thinking this. Are you sure you really want to do this? Is it just for getting the body? No, that's not it. I find that it's more creative when you can create something entirely for your character. Not just clothing, not just doing face-ups. An entire head. And I love creating artwork. I love designing things. This is part of my favorite collecting. I mean, if anyone knows about Dunnies and Toy Robot or any of those collectibles where a design toy, that's kind of how I feel about cardboard boxes and creating something for this doll. So, the backstory. This is where everyone can watch this. And basically, the character starts off with the name Lorenzo. And Lorenzo is a name that popped into my head that I just can't stop calling him. Lorenzo is a Renaissance Italian man. That was the period where he, was born and grew up in, which was a very flourishing time. And this is just for reference. I mean, it doesn't really have to be called Renaissance when I do write it, but this is just a very sort of point for me. And at this point, the war between humans and witches and demons is all over. Now, I didn't talk anything about this in this kind of like rough, very rough and detailed history that I have like the back of my head. And he's living from the after effects of all this, basically. And this man is just beautiful. Not drop dead handsome or anything like that. He is beautiful. He captivates both men and women from anywhere. You see. And he was not arrogant. He wasn't very wishy-washy about his beauty. He was a nice guy. Anyone he saw, he would try to help. And even though he was coming from a wealthy family and well-to-do, he wasn't like spoiled or anything. He didn't have to worry about the family business. His older brother was handling that. So he was free. And he was a philosopher. He studied that. He studied art. He studied mainly architecture because that's what he wanted to do at the time. And things go on. And a witch hears about this man. She goes to meet him and she's absolutely stunned and captivated. On one hand, she really wants him. She wants him to belong to her. On the other hand, she hates him because witches have this feeling, it depends on the witch too, but she doesn't feel as though a human should have this much beauty and she's jealous of it. So she goes through a whole series of things, but her magic does not work on him directly. And that tends to be the case for witches and humans. And it's similar to like Sleeping Beauty, where she has to touch the needle in order to fall asleep or be cursed. she goes through a series of things, and she goes with the most brutal way of doing things. She basically severs his head, and she cursed him. And she tells him, on your funeral night, you'll remain dead until your funeral night. And she gives him immortality as well when he comes back to life too. Now you're thinking, why? When he comes back on his funeral night, his parents, everyone, his friends and family are completely shocked. They don't believe that is Lorenzo. They think someone is mocking his death. They become angry and they chase him out like a mob. They chase him far, far out of town until they couldn't find him. And the poor man, Lorenzo, he has to find refuge. He couldn't let anyone see that he doesn't have a head. I mean, no one really has, like, they're just starting to get used to the fact that there's demons and witches among them. And he runs away and he seeks refuge in a monastery. And while he lives in a monastery, to make up for the fact that he doesn't have a head, he takes a sack and he stuffs it with rags. And it's very nice and tight, and he attaches it to the hood. So it's like, think of like a really creepy guy with a hood over his head the whole entire time. You can imagine mostly people were kind of scared of him. And he was always next to the head priest, and he was kind of like, he looked like an assassin. Like, if you mess with him, he was going to kill you. But that wasn't the case. Things happen, and he can't stay there anymore. And basically the monk